Prakash, the first googly that I'm throwing at you now is how did a kid from medical school decide to join IIT Kharagpur? Someone who is cleared medical leaves that and joins IIT Kharagpur. How does that happen?
But it's always unclear at the start, and it always doesn't make sense at all for most people. The same went with me as well. So of course, the usual parents' expectation is fine. The usual engineer, doctor, all that. I think everyone goes through that. For me, I think I always had a bit of diverse focus. So when I was in my high school, I was the only kid in my entire biology class saying that, you know what, people ask, okay, what are you interested in? Are you taking medicine or engineering? I said, I'll have both options. I'm like, what do you mean both options? Everyone around you are bad, may not even make the cut. It's that competitive. It's a very hard one, right? Because you spend a lot, especially in emergency medicine, you spend like 90 hours a week. Some patients may not make it, some patients do. And that hope is what drives you, right? And when I was doing all of this, at the end of my 2 week posting, I was like, look at the number of resources people have. They barely have anything. Government hospitals don't provide enough resources. There's so many problems. You can solve this using some invention. Why are people not doing that? But the inspiration for me was when you do clear medical exams, which is like literally the toughest in the world. I can actually say that IIT exams are there. I have given the IIT exams in my undergrad too. But medicine is a whole new level because you're not learning the basics for curriculum. Your basics for life, right? And that is something you never forget. Even today, if there's something, God forbid, if there's someone happening, but the basics still come into the picture for me. I can actually do that something. It was fortunate for me. I didn't spend too much time trading, but mastering Bitcoin, mastering Ethereum, that was the breakthrough moment for me. When I read it in like 2019, that's when I knew, okay, this is it.
So every story, like, as you rightly said, connects first with Bitcoin. Like, when this is my measurement, right? So when I talk with people and they're talking about trading meme coins or any tokens, I know that they are not real users.
If it is Solana, I think I would say, you know what, skip the blockchain part. You already understood Ethereum. Go build your own thing. And Solana should just be like an architecture that, because there's plenty of tooling that you can learn in a week's time. You understand Ethereum. Solana is the next step above. If you want to build your own consumer app without worrying about the cow plus gas fee structure or which layer it is, go and build your normal app. Use Solana for like cheaper gas fee transaction as a developer, right? My personal motivation was to solve something like this, like a toothpaste problem. Let's say toothpaste problem, it impacts your life every day. The world as we know is going to change rapidly, right? You see a lot of gas vehicles, but it's not going to be sustained for a long time. You're going to see a lot of EVs on road. Right now, it's plenty of EVs. They help you save on cost, low moving parts. So they're just going to get increase on the roads as you go, right? But there are a lot of car maker companies, but there's not enough infra-only companies. Mind you, infra-only companies is very different. Tesla did that in a very different scale. That's an outlier because they've been doing that for a decade and a half, right? But I think for us as a team, core problem solving, same thing, right? So for Recharge, it was about that singular mindset of finding that infra, solving that infra for the EVs. It's not just about fancy four-wheelers. It's also these two-wheelers that help you get your groceries and food, right? You order Swiggy, Zomato.
Welcome to Digital Dunia podcast. एक और नया एपिसोड विद प्रकाश कामराज who is co-founder of Decharge. तो ये एपिसोड बहुत ही मज़ेदार होने वाला है. आई अंडरस्टैंड कि प्रकाश को हिंदी नहीं आती है, तो मोटी मोटी बातें इस एपिसोड में इंग्लिश में ही होगी. So welcome to the show, Prakash. How are you?
Hey Apurva, nice to meet you. And of course, been watching a couple of your episodes before on the recommend of a dear friend Rohit. And it's good to be here. I didn't expect to be on the show as well, but because it's nice to go on long form content, which is something I really love to watch and kind of contribute. So on that note, it's good to be here speaking to the audience. And as much as thoda Hindi aate hain, but not that great. So let's try our best.
तो प्रकाश, द ब्यूटी ऑफ डिजिटल दुनिया पॉडकास्ट इज ये हर किसी के लिए. So it gives equal opportunity to all kind of people. There are means and ways we incorporate all different kind of voices, be it gender, be it language, be it anything. तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं. बट बिग शाउट आउट टू रोहित. आपने जैसे बताया, ही इज़ अ डियर फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन एज वेल. आई कैन कॉल हिम माई फ्रेंड नाउ. We gel really well. So thanks, Rohit, for making this happen. So, Prakash, I'm doing something unusual in this episode, which I've not done before. So, we are going to start with quick fire round. 10 questions for you.
Okay.
So, short fire back. Short fiery answer back from you. As simple as that. Prakash Kamaraj, where were you born?
Madurai, Tamil Nadu.
Which university did you go?
Stanley Medical College for my undergrad, IIT Kharagpur for my postgrad.
दोस्तों, मेडिकल फिर IIT खड़गपुर, इसके बारे में डिटेल से चर्चा होगी. मूविंग ऑन, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Uh, Solana,
Is the blockchain,
Ethereum,
the OG,
Bitcoin.
the creator.
तो ये हो गया हमारे 5 क्वेश्चन. So after
Mm.
5 questions, now another last 5 rapid fire questions for you. Uh, what are you building now?
EV infra for the future.
What was your first startup?
Forest Health, that was my first medtech startup that I work for.
First job?
A job, clinics, and of course part time. I used to do everything: CCD, paperboy, all of the stuff.
Second last question. Sorry, second last question. What was your first bike?
Pulsar, Pulsar 180 back in 2007,
And which year did you join IIT Kharagpur?
2015.
Lovely. Thank you for doing that, Prakash. So, like, this is all we are going to cover in nutshell, right?
Mhm.
तो ये
Nice.
इतनी बड़ी चीज है. It's so vast that I don't think we are able to cover everything in depth that we would like to, but we'll still give our best.
I like how you started because when you go to the mode of rapid fire, it has as close to the truth and as close to the heart as possible. So I like how it started with that. Kind of resonates what you want to create for the show as well. So it's really nice to see.
Thank you, Prakash. What do you think of Solana?
I think um, what I like about Solana is that they are right. They know okay, people they understanding blockchain is a prerequisite, right? The thing is, at the end of the day, Solana blockchain becomes ubiquitous. It's going to be there in everyone's daily life, right? I like Solana's approach of keeping the chain last fundamental, right? Their first principle behavior is, what, Ethereum has done a hard work. They laid the foundations. Time for the next gen. When I say next gen, not in terms of technical architecture, make it easier. Just reduce complexity. Don't layer it up downwards, no matter how hard it takes. And of course, technical is it still goes over people's head, but for a company, they try to make it easier. Just focus on your main architecture. There are a few talented developers who take care of the development part. You can always build something that focuses on your product and not worry too much for the architecture. So that is something I've learned and grasped, which has made things easier on Solana.
So, let's lower it down because I get it. I exactly get what you're trying to say. We want to reach out to young kid somewhere in India who is trying to study technology. So if you were to use simple examples to help them understand the difference between Ethereum and Solana, how would you describe it?
Good question. So yeah, simple example would be if you want to understand how smart contracts started, Ethereum. You can't jump straight into Solana. Of course, the people who have worked in Solana tell you can actually do that, but it's very difficult to understand the basics of smart contracts, gas fees, to understand how the world of finance actually functions. It's very important to understand. So to a simple kid, I would say, there are these cool building blocks that are going to make your uh, control, like control over your own sovereignty is something what Bitcoin taught people. How can you create an asset or asset that's like okay, hedge against inflation and everything? Those are the ideological ones. Ethereum is finance, right? If you want to create your own like decentralized architecture, you need to understand the basics. The smart contract is like a software building blocks that helps you establish provability, all of that, right? So these are the nuggets that I would try telling by repetition to a young kid who's trying to get into the basics, right? These are the things I use. If it is Solana, I think I would say, what, skip the blockchain part. You already understood Ethereum. Go build your own thing. And Solana should just be like an architecture that, because there's plenty of tooling that you can learn in a week's time. If you understand Ethereum. Solana is the next step about if you want to build your own consumer app without worrying about the complex gas fee structure or which layer it is. Go and build your normal app. Use Solana for like cheaper gas fee transaction as a developer, right? They may or may not be able to afford the gas fees, which they've understood how it works in Ethereum because you have a lot of testnet support and all of it. So anything basics, go to Ethereum, then you kind of graduate to understanding Solana. Then again, you focus on building a product and app and go forward.
सो दोस्तों, जो आप में से सुन रहे हैं, दिस इज़ कमिंग स्ट्रेट फ्रॉम हॉर्सेस माउथ, राइट? तो चीट शीट और शॉर्टकट दुनिया में खास करके लंबा नहीं चलता. If you want to play the long game, it is paramount, as Prakash said, understand the technologies. What is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? and then you will be able to make something really amazing should you choose to make on any either Ethereum or Solana. So my question was, thank you Prakash, sorry. My question was purely to get this insight, because I know this insight, but when it comes from you, you are a founder, you are a builder, and you have spent your time, you have given those number of hours to make this call, even though I may not in practical use or theory, but it's not I've not used it to create something. So I thought that would be very valuable. Prakash, how did you stumble on Web3? What was your first aha moment? Oh, this is something unique, or this is something different. When did that happen, and what was that thing?
So long story short, like even when I was in IT campus, right, we were all like figuring out, okay, what is this Bitcoin thing, Ethereum thing, and back in even like 2008 or 9, when I was hearing what's going on, or like something that white paper came on, people are mining with laptops. The, I asked my dad, you know what, give me some 1,000 rupees, I want to put something in Bitcoin. Imagine if he had listened to me. So yeah, the same thing. The near misses always catches you up. When it grew up, then okay, it's too late. It's too late. But it's never ending story. Then I think the only actual guts I had when Ethereum was going on, and of course, buy at the low, buy at the top, everything that always happens. Uh, I think my stumbling moment was just pre-pandemic times, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I would say the pandemic time itself takes a lot of time. So I know the time I actually deep dived into it. So of course you make some money, you lose some money. That's all there, part of the game. But it was more rewarding when you learn something, right? And around 2018, 19 times, I didn't know you could actually make products out of it. So this was the time when I was deep diving into my medtech space. I was trying to build a lot of cool stuff, trying to innovate. But even the startup was kind of slow to me after doing medicine. Like, why is this so slow? Like, some startup itself, I find it slow. Even now, I push my team members, why are you working so slow? So that's what happened, brain functions at warp speed. But this is a space that actually pushed me to my limits. We get exhausted all the time, right? That's the beauty of it, whether it's like trading world or you want to learn something, you want to hack something. It's always something new happening. So that was what drove me again into the storm. So then it was, so I think my first, it was fortunate for me. I didn't spend too much time trading, but mastering Bitcoin, mastering Ethereum, that was the breakthrough moment for me when I read it in like 2019. That's when I knew, okay, this is it.
So every story, like as you rightly said, connects first with Bitcoin. Like when uh, this is my measurement, right? So when I talk with people and they are talking about trading meme coins or any tokens, I know that they are not real users. Or again, real is a very subjective word. Let's change it to not aware users, right? So they are here for the fun and the game, but they are not aware about the technology. But every journey that gets serious starts with understanding Bitcoin. That is my experience so far. Most of the people that I have come across or interacted with, that aha moment, penny drop moments always happens with understanding either Bitcoin or Ethereum and the potential power of these technologies. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. Like my life, I don't know what happened with my life if I didn't read those open source books, right? It's anyone can read from GitHub, Mastering Bitcoin, Mastering Ethereum, like so beautifully put. You don't need to be technical to understand if it. I mean, of course, there's a bit of technical jargon that goes through, but it's all building blocks. If you understand that, you understand everything. So, what about Solana architecture? I think these are cool stuff too, but even they had to come through Bitcoin Ethereum standards, right? So, yeah, I think people when you understand the basics, everything else is like repetition of basics. Right? Whatever functions you throw on top of it, the same over here. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't read those books, Bitcoin and Ethereum. It was just continue my trading journey. So, I think basics always travel far. Basics help you wander. So mastering Bitcoin, mastering Ethereum. If you're not ready, you should go back. And of course, white paper is where maybe most people start, but I think that gives you an extra edge over a lot of people in the space. I would highly recommend.
I would second that. Let's move on to the next point that I wanted to cover is, so we are going to talk about decharge because that is really fascinating. You have mentioned to me a few things about it, and I was very excited to hear the idea, the germ of how big of an opportunity it can become going forward. But before we go there, again, for a lot of young kids, right? If you can give them some understanding about Solana ecosystem, because it's built on Solana. So what kind of help, support, and community have you got around Solana to facilitate whatever you want to build?
It's a great question. For the sake of viewers, for a simpler understanding, so just like how you mentioned three different places, right? I was fortunate to be around a Solana ecosystem around 21 time, but this is after I spent enough time around Ethereum communities. The Solana knew that they didn't have a home for community to actually come, right? And that's what they created at the time. If you go on Twitter and type super team, you would feel like you see a bunch of communities that have come out, like superstar communities for different countries. So back then in 21, it was just one place. I was fortunate to be the first 30 people in the simple Discord, very limited intake. It was not like an open DAO where everyone joins and screams and votes. It was a home for community back then, and that was started as a power contributor there. And this playbook was something nobody could tell them, right? I don't think, and now, right now, every ecosystem is trying to play catch up to that particular concept. It is pretty useful also. The Supreme community is something they've created a tremendous amount of playbook because it's easier to interact with a lot of like-minded founders, like-minded product people, like-minded developers, designers, artists, and you name it, right? They kind of made that Rolodex, which is actually years in the making. So I think that is something special. That is something helped me personally, founders, a lot of founders personally. So whether you're starting as a developer or starting as a founder or a product person, you have a lot of bounties, ecosystem bounties. I mean, right now I'm giving it back to the community as well. So hackathon is happening very soon. I'm also putting some boundaries for people to have this same upcoming in their journey, right? So that is something Solana had really well. And the super team community is what has, if you go on the Twitter, you'll find all the details, and that's something anyone should go check out. So, deep dive into the ecosystem, super team is the first place to start.
So, if I was to paraphrase what you just mentioned, that Ethereum has got a strong and vibe community, which a kid can get involved in and try their way forward. Is that fair to sum that up, or would you want to add anything to that?
I like, so we're talking about Solana, right? So, yeah, Ethereum has its own playbook of finding communities. That's also really good. So it's about what you like, or where you find your tribe. It's nothing to do with the blockchain. It's about where you find your tribe. So for me, it was like that. So it doesn't matter where you start. You're able to find your tribe. That's very important. That's why I think one of our friends Rohit is building that GM tribe. Right, it's a cool place to find like-minded people, and that's also something exciting. Right, so for anyone, finding the community for a particular ecosystem is very important. Same applies for Solana. Same applies for Ethereum. Same applies for Starknet. Right. So I think that's how people should start out.
Perfect. Now let's jump into Decharge. You have got 2 minutes to run down what Decharge is.
Got it. Uh, my personal motivation was to solve something like that's like a toothbrush problem. Let's say toothbrush problem, it impacts your life every day. The world as we know is going to change rapidly, right? You see a lot of gas vehicles, but it's not going to be sustained for a long time. You're going to see a lot of EVs on road. Right now, it's plenty of EVs. They help you save on costs, low moving parts. So they're just going to get increase on the roads as you go, right? But there are a lot of car maker companies, but there are not enough infra only companies. Mind you, infra only companies is very difficult uh, because Tesla did this that in a very different scale. That's an outlier because they've been doing that for a decade and a half, right? Uh, but I think for us as a team, the core problem statement was problem solving, same thing, right? So for Recharge, it was about the singular mindset of finding that infra, solving that infra for the EVs. It's not just about fancy two four wheelers; it's also these two wheelers that help you get your groceries and food, right? You order Swiggy, Zomato. Most of them run on EVs, whether it's like a battery swap or an infra. So they rely on infra on a daily basis. So that's what becomes a toothbrush problem. So core problem statement is very important. Tech, everything comes secondary. Your problem statement and distribution is what defines everything. That's how as simpler that it started for us. And today we are able to dream of bigger things, right? We are infrastructure company. Today we're doing it for EVs. Tomorrow we'll be doing the same infra vertical for drones, automatic EV tolls, all of this, right? All of them are going to require energy, right? So the energy internet is what we're building. So today it's going to be for EVs. We keep addressing it across different verticals, commercial or private vehicles. And the dream of crypto here is that imagine if not just one company holding all the infra like Tesla, and they don't give any incentive to the hosts or the mall owners. Here we start ground up. We give a community owned infrastructure as a dream, right? So we do that on a regular basis. 40% of our infra right now is owned by the community. They accumulate reward points for every service that they help in real life. So we do the deployment on behalf of them. Some of them deploy on their own. All of it comes down to the dream of a decentralized community of a single dream, right? Decentralized network of community owned infra. So that is what is our vision. If you look at blockchains, I think there has been enough innovation happening there. But for Decharge, it's about creating this decentralized network of community-owned infra.
So to sum it up, you are trying to create infrastructure which is going to be owned by regular people like myself, people I know, people you know around in daily life. They are going to be able to make a part owning of infra possible, and also potentially benefiting and monetizing that infra that they hold. Is that right?
Exactly. So
Mm.
that's the main thing. And how do you make it decentralized? Is it's not only for like one particular company. Like it's about growing the pie. Can you have a say in the infra? Is something that's possible today, thanks to what we are also building. There are a few other companies also building, but I think for us, we are happy to be have the head start to be thinking in the direction. So EV infra is going to be something huge. We don't just save that, but it's core problem solving that's only going to get bigger. People's energy demand never goes down. People always want more and more. So the whole concept of decentralized physical infrastructure is what's going to change people's lives uh, everywhere. And blockchain is going to play a huge role in this.
So, how does trying to lead this thought forward? So, infrastructure, would that change? A very knob question, because I've got no idea about technicalities. But would it change with um, completely completely autonomous driving? Uh, if that happens, does the infra change, or does the infra still remain the same because it's just
You're
powering them?
absolutely right, Akshay. So I'm glad you brought that question. So I usually come to this particular point when I go deep dive. Uh, so this is exactly why you need crypto and blockchain, right? Let's say if you want to create a secure system of autonomous vehicles, creating a charge, having the autonomous charging with driverless cars, they need some place to dock and charge themselves, right? To create using traditional methods to have a secure transmission flow where you don't get to control the cars through remote monitoring and hacking, it's very expensive. For even Waymo does this very manually. Self-driving cars, they don't have an autonomous docking system. That's also something we are working towards. Crypto kind of makes it easier because whole concept of crypto, one of the concepts of crypto is like to reduce spam contracts, spam transactions, provability. This is going to play a huge role on all of this automation, and it's going to change the entire automation industry. It's already happening, right? They call it the machine economy. So if you want to have autonomous transactions and autonomous driving cars infrastructure, they also need energy. So when you create a docking station, that's where they got the decentralized infrastructure makes it much easier. Much. It's not that it's the only way to do it, but the cost of creating such an infrastructure drops down drastically when you use a particular architecture. It's something that we are also working towards.
So this is going to be. I'm going to take leap of faith over here because this is so exciting. So I'm just going to engage in letting loose my imagination. So imagine autonomous vehicle, be it two wheeler or three wheeler or a four wheeler, 10 years from now, being able to do efficient automated tasks like delivering something. And if they are efficient, they are going to get tips, and they can have their own wallet, and they can work efficiently. At the same time, there is infra ready, so if they want to make sure plan their strategy, where it's like, I want to do this 10 tasks in a day, how do I optimize my charging, where do I go, which place is going to give me best value and convenience, and for that convenience I'm happy to pay xyz, more or less, whatever it is, right? And they are able to execute it completely autonomously without any human intervention. Is this my realm of imagination going too far, or this is a very possible future?
I think you pretty much hit the nail on its head, right? This is not something even we discussed. Uh, what has ChatGPT done for people, right? It has actually given time back to people, right? And imagine if we can do the real physical assets. They call it physical AI. Jensen Huang talks a big deal about it, but it's already there. We just don't know it yet. So technically, it's all of this is already feasible, right? If you look at cybercabs doing their own thing, right? The entire innovation here that we're working towards, right? It's at a physics level that nothing stops us. It's all about creating secure systems, efficient ones. So efficient innovation that makes people lazier, makes people save time. That's what ChatGPT does for people, right? So the same thing is it's actually happening right now. So that's also something we're working towards. How do you create people's life much better? Your mobility traveling from point A to point B should be the last thing on your mind. Imagine if all of this is like automated right from point A to point B. You are done on FSD; it's already there. Imagine if your charging is also automated, right? You're tired of traveling. You know what? Go pick it up, pick up the groceries, All they have to do is come out and drop the groceries in the car. It it goes to come back to your home after charging itself on the way. All of it like in a seamless manner. And you're okay to pay for like, let's say you're okay to pay like $10 to $20. You would pay at some point because it makes your life easier. You want to get your time. You are okay to pay that amount to spend more time with your life, with your loved ones. I think that's how it should be. So this traveling whole part should be the last thing on people's mind. And imagine if we can flip it even further. Imagine if you're owning the assets and people are paying each other those goods and services. When community owns it, they actually get to reap the dividends of it. So your car is actually an idle asset. Imagine if it makes money for you. Then the entire story flipped. So you're not just
And
creating an
that's
autonomous future.
yeah,
Yeah.
and sorry, I got jumping in with excitement because the bet which Tesla is taking, right? As of now, in nutshell, Tesla is in car industry as we speak, right? But this can flip at any point in future, and Tesla can become a software company, right? Because that is, I think, that is what they are trying to pursue, right? And the whole economics and dynamics completely change because as a car industry, how you and I will see them will be completely different when they become software company. In the same way, why I'm using this example is when you are talking about infra for EV, right? As of now, it's very hard to pinpoint how the future is going to shape up, but if it shapes into a certain direction, your infra could become infra from A to completely different infra, if that makes sense. So that's sorry, I
Absolutely.
got too
Yeah.
excited.
Oh yeah, that's worth putting it out, right? You have to kind of somehow cut through the noise so that I might say a lot of these things that might go over people's head, but the simple answer is yes. Software reaches the world, like Mark Andreessen says. So the same applies here, right? When you create great software that touches people's lives, and when it comes, it's really physical assets, right? So your car is not just a car anymore; it becomes a robot. So you're just going to be all. You already see the humanoid robots coming out. They're already freaking out people's lives. So the impact of software is always going to be huge. Each company is a software company by itself.
So Prakash, the first googly that I'm throwing at you now
Mm-hmm.
is how did a kid from medical school decide to join IIT Kharagpur? Like, this is going to be very fascinating. I know for sure it is for me, but for many other people listening out. Someone who is cleared medical leaves that and joins IIT Kharagpur. How does that happen?
So I'll take a couple of minutes to explain the story. Like for example, everything in retrospect, a lot of people seems magical, but it's always unclear at the start, and it always doesn't make sense at all for most people. The same went me with me as well. So of course, the usual parents' expectation is fine. The usual engineer, doctor, all that. I think everyone goes through that. For me, I think I always had a bit of diverse focus. So when I was in my high school, uh, I was the only kid in my entire biology class saying that, you know what, people ask, okay, what are you interested in? Are you taking medicine or engineering? I said, I'll have both options. I'm like, what do you mean both options? Everyone around you are bad, may not even make the cut. It's that competitive. And you are saying you'll do both. Such diverse focus is not going to happen. So you just choose one and fix one. I never listened to that. So even in I think I somehow cleared school first. I was never the golden boy through my, but somehow my boards were good. Fortunately, it's again a luck factor, right? It comes out well, it comes out well. Otherwise, it doesn't. For me, that happened really well, and I attended both counseling, engineering as well as medicine. So medicine was the first counseling that I attended, and I got the like Stanley Medical College is one of the premier government medical colleges where your education is basically free. Most people pay like in pros for the medical seat where I got highest privilege to have free. Then I also did engineering counseling. So there, then the parents of my friends were like, "Hey, congrats! Good to see that you got the medical seat, but now you're going to engineering counseling. So what is your plan?" I said, "I'm just here to see what happens, but I'm going to take medicine." They're like, "Are you serious? Why are you taking medicine?" These are all like doctors who were there who were saying that, you know what, first gen doctors are going to find it very tough. You should not take it. And that's what they were told their kids to take engineering. And here I was trying not to take engineering, and it was like a very fascinating scene. I entered the counseling, then I said, no, I'm not taking. I just wanted to see what was going on. They just looked at me like this. So then I went back to medical college, and my dean looked at me and said, okay, fine, you're back. Not bad. So at least I had that option to go to the counseling. Most other colleges, they were like, if you come here for medicine, why are you even going to the counseling? I had that option, fortunately. And he's a nice guy. And fast forward, of course, I think you always have that window comparison. Okay, the people in engineering, they have a better lifestyle and much shorter college. Here we can have slog just to clear the papers. That's like a whole different world view that happens. You're not going to get your, like, people are often used to like 9.5 CGP or whatever. That never happens in medicine. So in medicine, to clear the paper, you have to like literally not sleep for nights. That's how it is. Because you see the medical books, it's like yay high. Like this, all of them. Each of them are like fixed papers, no holidays in between. Because that's the level of perfection people expect. You're gonna touch your hands on real patients. So they have put a very high standard for that. So the 4.5 years were grueling. So even then, I was like, I wasn't the best medical student of my college, but I was good enough to kind of get clear in all papers. I mean, it's rocky bottoms, and of course, some papers I used to reread. But eventually, I think once you're done with the final year, people always say, your real test is actually when you step into the field, the clinical fields, right? So that first year of a grueling practice where you actually get to see long hours of surgery, long hours of medicine, emergency medicine, all of that, right? That actually makes you a man. I mean, for a lot of people, right? It's clearing it is one thing. Then they say, you know what, your 4.5 years is like nothing. This 1 year is everything for you. I thought, okay, maybe they're exaggerating, but it was actually the case. I kind of fell in love with the whole grueling hours. I was much better clinician than I actually thought I would be, because you thought academics is everything, but it's not. Academics and patient perspective, all of that happened. So my most favorite subjects were actually surgery and emergency medicine. Uh, these were, I was like in the zone. That focus always gets you to places. That's like there's nothing. It's a very hard one, right? Because you spend a lot, especially in emergency medicine, you spend like 90 hours a week. Some patients may not make it, some patients do, and that hope is what drives you, right? And when I was doing all of this, at the end of my 2 week posting, I was like, uh, look at the number of resources people have. They barely have anything. Government hospitals don't provide enough resources. There's so many problems. You can solve this using some invention. Why are people not doing that? So that was like bothering me for a long time. It was not that I was not not an efficient clinician, but I was like just throbbing me for like entire weeks together. Like, why are people not doing this? Then at that time, I used to be like, smartphones had just come out, the Nokia click phone, touch phone. So I used to keep in touch with all the tech news that's happening. Like Google is doing this, Google is doing all these moonshots. That's very fascinating. Obviously, like you read into startups how Google is capable of creating everything, right? Why are they not doing something for this, for medical fields? That used to be my question. And of course, I also closely following the picture at the time. So somehow that gave me an inkling. Okay, this maybe I could do something, but I don't know what it is. So for an entire year, I did give a NEET exam as well, but my mind was not off. That's NEET exams, PG. If you see the news, you will know how grueling it is. But I still gave it a shot for a year. My focus wasn't there. But even if your focus is there, it's not a guaranteed exam if you clear it first go. So I still gave it an attempt just to see where I would fare. But yeah, I didn't like it because in India, because you can't always go for the field you want unless you put like 2 3 years, right? And that's something I was not interested in. I was more into big problem solving, right? One-to-one doc medicine is like one-to-one basis, but I want to do this one-to-many at a time. So that's when I did my deep research, got to know there's actually a course for medical doctors in IIT Kharagpur. So this course was actually created by, it was launched by Abdul Kalam, and the founder of the course was actually a person who did engineering first and then did medicine. That's the other common. I was actually fascinated. I was like, who does this? And these are all like stalwarts names. And the founder of the course actually got Padma Bhushan as well later. So he's also like a fantastic inventor. So that drove me even crazier. Okay, you know what? This is what I want to do. So I gave my exams, got to the institute, got into like when you get outside the field, only then you know how the outside world is, right? You're thinking, oh, you're the only one with all the ideas, but that's not the case. So I got to meet like 15 other folks, talented folks who came along with me, and people were warning us. You're going to lose your respect. People are going to treat you like students. You're going to learn everything from scratch. You're going to be very anxious. That was actually the case. But when you want to learn or make a difference, you have to go through this anxious phase again. It was a risk for us, of course, not to forget disappointing your parents. So in a nutshell, what happened was basically, I think, the search for doing something unique and the search to also go like people always say, okay, your 4.5 years has gone to waste. No, that 4.5 actually that's the core foundation for me, right? Whatever drive and focus that I have today is all because of those first undergrad that I have. I would never have been this uh, gifted if I had taken my original thoughts of going to engineering college, going to the US, like many people do. But now somehow the journey has brought me where I'm an entrepreneur, able to travel the world to observe what problem statement that impact I can actually make, not for the sake of traveling. It's more of the curiosity that takes you places, and that's pretty much how it has come thus far.
बहुत बढ़िया. This is so amazing, and I was listening very quietly because I'm trying to picture you during that phases, right? Because sometimes the sorry, meandering is the most amazing part of the life. People think that, like, destination is, and I actually have discovered for myself, and I can speak for myself, that the amount of meandering that I was able to do, that has led me to more good things in life, more beautiful things in life, more closer to nature than any plans or grand visions I've ever had. So it is so fascinating to hear that story. Now, as we wrap it up, I'm just going to throw in, how long did it take you to crack IIT after that?
So one thing when it comes to exams, right? When you're done medicine, you can pretty much do everything. I always strongly believe that, but that's not often the case. People stick to medicine, but the inspiration for me was when you do clear medical exams, which is like literally the toughest in the world. I can actually say that IT exams are there. I have given the IT exams in my undergrad too, but medicine is a whole new level because uh, you're not learning the basics for curriculum, your basics for life, right? And that is something you never forget. Even today, if there's something, God forbid, if there's someone happening, that the basics still come into the picture for me. I can actually do that something. Although I'm not a fully fledged practitioner, I should not do that if someone is better qualified is there. So when I did that, it was much easier for me. Basics of maths, physics, chemistry. It took me like 6 months to get into that mold and kind of crack it. Uh, and I think even the exams, so even after getting into it, so the challenge that I took all the tougher subjects. I don't know if you should call it ego or wandering again, power of wandering, like you say, right? It's very powerful. So I did not care for grades. I wanted to clear the tougher challenges. I took all the papers that engineers actually struggled to pass. So that was my style. I think that I found that as equal as clearing medicine because taking engineering subject, which people say tell you not to take, drives an ego, and who are these guys telling me I can't do this? So somehow you always have this habit of running into the storm. So that habit kind of kicks into like a drug like behavior. So it
It gives you
it just
the,
yeah,
it's the sorry to interject, but it's the dopamine high that you get by doing that, right? And that's why people do so crazy
exactly.
things. And if it was not for that kind of crazy things, we would not have great things in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people often underestimate. Everyone turns their life around when they find that drive. If the drive is there, nothing is like impossible. Nothing is impossible for people.
Lovely. I wish I could go on more. I know that I can go on more, and we will go on more. I'm going to pick you on this because this is so fascinating and interesting for me. But like every good thing in life, things come to an end. We are heading towards the end of our podcast. Before we finish off, I'm going to play another rapid fire round where I'm going to ask you to give three tips, and I'm going to take three tips from you for three different things. Okay, are you ready for that?
Yep, absolutely.
So, number one, what are the three tips that you will give any young kid uh, who is trying to get into IIT?
This is like just high school, right? We're talking about high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
Uh, I think sometimes it's worth spending a lot of time getting to what's actually required. But once you're able to deep dive into what it takes, it opens a lot of doors. IIT is not the only place. Of course, there's a lot of schools that are equally good. NITs are also there. BITS is also there, right? You always have these great institutes. But I would say the biggest unlock is what you do there makes sense. Okay, so three tips, right? First
Yeah.
tip is perseverance. There's no substitute for that. Drive. People don't teach you enough. Drive is what makes you relentless. So, and that gives you the energy for everything. The last would be curiosity, right? That's the fossil fuel of everything. If you don't have the curiosity, it's hard to make a difference to people's life. So whether it's software or hardware or you're getting into high school, curiosity is what everything. If you're able to pick on that, double down on that, you go places.
Perfect. The second question I'm going to ask you is, if you were to give three suggestions uh, about Solana, why you chose Solana, what would be the three top reason that you can think of? Starting with first.
Okay. Yeah. I think experimentation is you get to experiment a lot because it makes the developer life easier, low gas fees and everything. That's one thing. Something you can do on mainnet. People underestimate only when you spend that money, whether it's like $1, $2 a transaction, you actually enter into experiencing things. Until that, it's always theoretical. Theory is not going to help you. So experimentation through actually doing things is the first. The second step, I would say, you can be a founder of anything small, cool project. It helps you focus on that. I think that's also something I would tell anyone. focus on a very cool product. Right now, ChatGPT can help you automate most of the stuff. Uh,
Hmm.
so people, there's a concept called vibe coding. If you're on Twitter, you would say what it is. So vibe coding is basically get helping people, even if people on their jobs or their college kid, they use AI to create a lot of cool products, right? And there's tremendous amount of YouTube content for that. And the third thing would be, right, you can even people don't tell you this, but you can also play around with tokens in terms of when I say tokens, it's not the meme coins, right? How does it work? How does it actually contribute to the economy? You can study that at a microscopic level. And that is something that's beyond all the noise when you get to experience launch just for practice, how actually launching a token works. That's something it's much easier now. When I say doesn't mean that you have to go create your own tokens and do a lot of bad stuff. That's not the thing. At least getting to experience how that works in practice on mainnet, that's something that's like very much possible. That Solana makes it easier. Uh, yeah,
Perfect. This is pretty much done. Last and final question. If you were to say three things that sorry, if you can share three things about Digital Dunya podcast, Digital Dunya YouTube channel, and Digital Dunya newsletter that you have experienced, right? So you can be very fair and very brutal. I'm completely open.
I think long form content is I'm a big fan of. I think when the power of wandering gets unlocked when you discover long form content, right? And we should have actually more of such content. So I'm very fortunate to explore this up over here. And I think Digital Dunya is a great history. Like you said, you get to be a historian when you document people's lives, and I like how you do that and also do that deep dive, right? Because understanding the whys are always more important because people don't ask questions. And what I like about Digital Dunya is that you actually try to understand the human because it's all about humans. Whatever you do, business, all of the startups, this is all secondary. But when you understand people, when you understand the whys, you get really far. And I really think that is something great about Digital Dunya. I think what I would also like to see is he has a tremendous of there's a treasure of short clips that we created. I'm pretty sure once he has more time on his hand, if he creates a great short clip funnel, I think I would definitely love to see that in the future because I would personally see these kind of snippets, not just for myself, like every other content that has a lot of gems in it. So getting these highlighted and seeing them on Twitter is something I'll be looking forward to.
Perfect. And I know Digital Dunya newsletter is very new. It's 1 month old. I somehow have found a voice that I didn't even know existed. So not sure if you have had chance to look into it, but I would really like your help and support to check that out and see if there is anything you can help or contribute to make us better.
100%. I know, like you're very diligent and follow. You had also shared that article. I really loved because articles is a lost form, and people don't read anymore. But for the people who read, it makes a massive difference. That's something. I'm very glad that you're consistent at it, and I would very much love to see all of your articles coming forward. And people should definitely check them out. Lend the support. Of course, videos, everything, but the real essence to me lies in these articles, right? And I think he has started off really well, and he's gonna keep at it, guys.
Thank you very much, Prakash, for making this time to come on Digital Dunya podcast. I always say that this is our platform, right? This is a public platform, and we want you to come here every time you have something to say, every time you have something to share, because this is why we have built this platform. So, once again, thank you for joining us in, and I'm happy to do this again. Like, in 6 months, our world changes in Web3. Like, we move so fast and we break so fast that we don't know what the situation will be in 6 months from now.
Exactly. So, like you said, believe in the power of meandering and wandering. That's how kind of roll in the industry. The velocity of learning is always faster, and hope we get to learn more from each other.
दोस्तों, ये था आज का एपिसोड प्रकाश कामराज के साथ, को फाउंडर ऑफ डी चार्ज। हमें यूं ही फॉलो करते रहिए और मज़ीद खजानों की खोज में अगली बार तक सवाल करते रहो, एक्सप्लोर करते रहो द डिजिटल दुनिया। नमस्कार।